Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to Naked Insider to episode 4, and my name is Boaz Fischer and I have here
Peter Natterer.
Excellent, welcome back.
Thank you.
Today's a very interesting topic. It's all about values, all about drivers.
Yes.
What exactly does that mean?
So essentially, drivers are what drive us to do the things that we do. So these are based on values. So essentially the way it works is what we value most is what drives our actions, and our actions and behaviours drive our outcomes. So values are extremely important because it gives us a roadmap of what it is that we're likely to do, what it is that we want to do, and why we want to do it.
Yeah, excellent. So we often talk about sort of eliciting people's values.
Yeah.
Okay. But we never actually understand it from a business context.
Absolutely.
Why is that?
So we find that most organisations grow organically, and everybody makes the dreaded assumption that everybody else knows what it is that we're here for. And even with organisations that still have the original people inside of the management team, that changes because the values of the individual then become flavouring the value that they believe the organisation has. And over a period of time, you can find that you can have wildly divergent or mildly divergent values, and this is what makes companies look a little bit out of focus.
Okay. So, mission statement can be described as the value of the organization. But a lot of organizations look at it from a perspective of, well, it really doesn't really mean too much because it's very fluffy.
Yes.
So is mission statement is it of value? Is it interesting? Is it important these days or not?
It's very important. It drives everything from your recruitment to your client intake. It really says who you are and what it is that you do. If you have a very punchy, clear and concise mission statement, the type of people that you attract to your organisation will resonate around that message. The type of clients that you get will already understand that this is what it is that you do.
Yeah.
I use the example sometimes of, if you were in an army situation, you have an army that has a mission statement of we are the most effective fighting force, or you have an army that has a simple mission statement that says we win.
Yes.
Which of those two would you want to stand up for?
Yes, actually, it's a great an example. Also, when I was thinking about the U.S. elections, I know Donald Trump always says, "Make the U.S. great again."
Yes, and
that has so much more references than what Hillary Clinton had. And I just wonder. I don't even know what Joe Biden's is, but it is such an amazing and important mission statement.
Yes.
So let's get to the crux of it. Why is there such a difference between, or let me change the question around. Why is there such a mismatch between people's values and businesses, and how does it play out?
A lot of times there is an assumption, and the assumption is that if you sign up with an organisation, that you automatically adopt the values of that organisation, and many times that can be the case.
Yes.
There is an organic level of self-alignment between, okay, so this is my value and this is the organisation's value, so I guess I can approximate that value with this of my value. But that does take a certain amount of experience, insight, and wanting to do that. It's not just enough to say, look, you're valued because you get paid an incredible amount of money.
Correct.
That's one driver,
yes.
But it's not perhaps the driver for a particular person.
Okay. So what are the risks when you have a mismatch between an employee and the organisation when it comes to the values?
If you have let's look at the contrast. If you have a person within an organisation who is lined up with the organisational values, you have a powerful engagement. You have an advocate of that person for the organisation. If you have a mismatch between that, you have powerful disengagement. And disengagement means that couldn't care less, or I'm only here for the time that I'm here, or I'm just doing the functions. These are the kind of rubbing points that will actually, it's an attrition point really.
Look, I mean, I've talked a lot about disengagement in workforces because that leads to very much a negligence behavior. And when you have negligence behavior, basically means that people will more likely make mistakes, which will therefore cause more likely harm to the organization.
Yes, and that can be carelessness, as simple as.
Yes, correct, correct. So, coming around to it, so how would organizations then solve the problem in terms of mismatching between values between an employee and an organization?
I see a couple of steps involved there. One step is to get really clear inside of the organization what the values are for that organization.
Yep.
And make sure that that is articulated and clarified within all within all the top levels of the management.
Yep.
This is what we're here for. This is what we do, and this is how we do it.
Yep.
Because that's important.
Yep.
Then to look at the individual and say, okay, so what's important to you, looking at the person in terms of an individual, because a person is still an individual, they're not a production unit for the organisation. So how can we align these very important values of ours and turn them into, or translate them or equate them to values that are your top values?
Okay.
And this is something that can be facilitated, or it's something that sometimes, but not often, happens organically.
That would be difficult if it happens organically,
Yes.
because I think traditionally they would try and do it themselves,
Yes.
or completely ignore it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Or the problem is not even seen, so they would look at something else.
Yes.
So the behavior would be manifested,
Yes.
and then say, look, this is unacceptable,
Yes.
or maybe you should leave, Mr.
Yes.
Employee, or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes.
So what is the key takeaway then for values?
Well, one of the things that anybody can do is to go to, say, 6 people and ask them, what is it that we do in this organisation? And see what comes back.
Actually, that's a great exercise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it, you can do it very, very casually and not even sort of announce what it is that you're doing. But have a look at the kinds of responses that you get, and chances are that you'll get the responses flavoured by the individual's values.
Correct.
Now, the key here is that values is one thing, and it's really great to say, well, that value and this value. It's important to keep in mind that values become drivers. Drivers become actions, and those actions, if they are lined up with the company, will be actions on behalf of the company.
Yep.
That's how I see it.
All right. I'm guessing also that maybe some of these responders, or if you had to ask a few people within the organisation of what the mission statement of the organisation, they probably won't know.
Yes.
That's also worrying,
Yes.
in a sense,
Yes.
for a number of reasons. So with that, any last word in regards to values?
Absolutely. Values are very hard to identify subjectively. One of the best things that you can do is to find somebody who will sit with you that is detached from the organisation and really nut out in a short period of time, it doesn't take that long, what it is that is the value for an organisation. There is a bit of facilitation involved in there. The next step, if you decided that that was useful, is to then take your key executives, your key people, and find out what drives them, so that can be aligned with what it is that we've identified as the company values. And that's something that we can do.
What's the process in terms of time to do that value elicitation from both the organisation and the people?
It depends on the size of the organisation,
okay.
and also it depends on the diversity of opinion inside of the organisation. The biggest point to look at, and the biggest thing that an organisation can do before anything else, is to get clear about their values. And that can take, depending on how many people, that can take a day or it can take several days.
Okay. So what will be the outcome once you do that sort of assessment for them?
Yes.
What will they get out of it?
There will be a tighter focus. You'll find that the directives that are given by each of the different people that are responsible for various different parts of the organisation become more cohesive, which means that your outcomes will become much more targeted. Then, by aligning the people who are at the coalface, so to speak, of implementing those actions, If those activities are aligned also with those individuals' values, you can, to use a motoring term, you can supercharge your organisation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think importantly for what we're trying to do is also
Yes.
reduce the potential risk of disengagement
Absolutely.
or potentially highly disengaged, which is based when they move over to the becoming maybe potentially malicious. So with that, look, if you want Peter to come in and run this exercise with you, look, reach out to us.
Yep.
Just go to the website and send us your contact details, and we will follow up with you, and so forth. Peter, the next session, episode 5, we're going to be talking about beliefs.
Yes.
So that will happen soon.
Looking forward to it.
Yep, and if you haven't seen the previous videos, one was about behavior, one was about communication, and one was about rapport. So
Yes.
I urge you to check it out. And with that, I bid you an enjoyable day.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
you.
Peter.
Thank you.
Cheers.